What's up everyone, I'm Illegal Toast, and in this video I did my best to beat the first level, the squats, in Master Difficulty using the knowledge I've developed with my previous runs in Disciple mode. Now when I first started this level, I didn't fully know what to expect considering it's a difficulty up. I wasn't sure if the enemies would be stronger, if I would be weaker, or just simply if there would be more enemies. However, after first breaking into the level, everything seemed pretty similar. I was still beating the enemies with decent ease, but considering it was the first level, you gotta stay light on your feet, because racking deaths up early is not good in games like this. But as fate would have it, after running through a couple of rooms doing considerably well, it hit me. Now for those of you who didn't see, let me replay that. Right here. That was one basic attack, and that ate my health bar harder than queso finding a candy bar. That did roughly a quarter of my health, so just then I quickly realized that I needed to be just as sharp with my defense as much as I'm rolling out the damage. After clearing this hallway like an absolute champion, I was one fight closer to the boss. Now with this next fight, I made sure to just play my defense as safe as I possibly could, and it really brought me out on top. After this fight, I started to worry about the Juggernaut in the cash room. After getting hit by the basic enemies, I didn't even want to know what the damage output on the Juggernauts could do, so I made sure to fight this fight pretty cautiously as well, because who in their right mind wants to get punched by Prime Mike Tyson? And again too, the Juggernauts like to go for grapple moves. If they get one good grab on you, I'm sure that's game over. Now after boxing this guy up in the corner and winning, I moved on to the enemies that are in the elite room, and these guys genuinely had me stressing. He immediately launched it with a snap kick. Now I don't know if you remember when I went through this level in Disciple mode literally last episode, but he did not open with a snap kick, and it really caught me off guard. Now these guys were throwing absolute haymakers left and right, and they knocked me to the ground really early on. Being on the ground is not a position you want to be in, because if they break your structure bar, they have plenty of opportunities to hit you. However, I overcame these guys surprisingly quick. I just adapted. Thankfully, after I came out of my mini heart attack of panicking, I just used the pipe in my environment and beat the rest of them up. Now, getting into this next room, I don't really have a whole lot to say, but I did realize as I was fighting all of these guys, they were throwing a lot more guard break kicks than they did in the previous run through when I was on Disciple mode. That did kind of throw me off a little bit, but it wasn't too bad considering it's a pretty easy dodge. Now after I cleared out this room, it was time for the fight I had been dreading. The first boss, Fajar. Comparative to Disciple mode, this guy wasn't very different in the very beginning. He opened with his basic jump kick that he goes into, but I did notice his combinations were a lot more complicated than they were previously. He was throwing in a bunch of extra punches and kicks, and half of them were guard breaks. He threw in a bunch more low sweeps, and I cannot do low sweeps. Those things that catch me off guard almost every single time. After getting absolutely pummeled for the first life, I realized he was going to be a lot quicker, and I figured maybe trying to throw in more punches would help. Waited for that kick, dodge, and then went for the punches. Got that little quick combo in. Playing aggressively did seem to help a little bit. However, despite throwing the punches back at him, he was still absolutely pummeling me in this first phase. I just was dreading the second phase for the most part. Once he gets the machete and has the slash damage through half of his arm attacks, it makes it incredibly difficult to parry any of his moves for increased structure on him, and you have to avoid more. Now, I felt like I was doing considerably well getting into a second phase with only 2 deaths, considering this is the hardest difficulty that there is in the game. However, I did not realize what was about to come with this guy's second phase. This guy is absolutely ballistic. Now when he leaps out of the trees like that, it's basically an easy free window to get a couple punches in, and most of his slash attacks like that were about the same. However, he also again added sweep kicks in his second phase, which threw me off a lot more. Now, as I was thinking to myself, taking an offensive approach probably would not be very effective in his second phase, considering he likes to chain attack and then back up. My brain was having an incredibly hard time trying to figure out a good countermeasure for him. And alas, as you can see, trying to take the offensive approach did not work. I tried a couple different combos on him and just got pummeled again. Unfortunately, it was mostly only until about the end of the second phase fight that I actually started to pick up any of his combos, which did not make for a very good fight. As you can see, being age 37 just from this first boss is not very ideal, especially because the maximum age in this game is 75 years old. I have 5 bosses, and this is supposedly one of the easier bosses. So congratulations, I guess, I did beat him, but that was not enough for me. Of course, I decided I needed to go back and get the death counter down. But just running back in recklessly and aimlessly obviously is not the way to do that. I needed to adapt and or figure out his attack strategy. Now, what does any true warrior do in a time of desperation like this? Obviously, you look at The Art of War by Sun Tzu. In this absolute masterpiece of a book, it clearly states victory lies in the knowledge of, hence the saying, if you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Now, to apply these wise words, I had to go and train against his specific attack pattern so that I would have the knowledge of 100 battles. I have to know the enemy. So after reviewing another insightful passage, it says you may advance and be absolutely irresistible if you make for the enemy's weak points. As obvious as that might sound, after some trial and error that occurred, I figured out that the charged back fist move was very effective on him. It seemed like about every time I hit him with the charged back fist at the right time, it gave me a decent opening to follow up with a combo or chasing trip. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the game's moveset, charged back fist is a charge attack that, of course, you charge up, and if you strike right before they attack, it will stun the enemy. And to follow up on a pushed enemy, the chasing trip will throw them into a chasing trip and put them on the ground. So finally, of course, after reviewing all of this information, it was time for round 2. As per usual, he opened up with his strong open kick, and then I proceeded to lay the hurt down on him with the stick. Now, when my stick broke, of course that wasn't a good thing. However, it allowed me to get quite a bit of structure damage in, so I was content with it breaking. Now, in this run through, of course, I was dodging and looking out for his low sweeps quite a bit more, which I really think is what saved me most the hassle, because those low sweeps tend to get me almost every time. I don't know why. They're just super fast, and they do a ton of structure when they hit, especially if you don't land the perfect parry. Now, as I was pulling him off the ground, I thought I had him, but he did kill me. I was okay with that, mostly because I died about, I think, twice in his first phase on the first run, so I was content with only dying once and having his structure that high. He throws that low kick, and I know that's time for me to get some licks in, and then it was right on to second phase. Now, because I beat his first phase, it did take one off the death counter, which helps a lot in the long run that I only died once, which automatically sets my death counter bar a lot lower for any times that I die in his second phase. Now that I had learned what his moveset was for his second phase, I was doing a lot better at dodging him, and I was really looking out for those machete attacks, or at least trying to, because they do slash damage right through the parries. So I tried avoiding a lot more in this second phase. Now, I didn't expect him to jump kick directly when I came out of my death. However, I did use that as a chance to try and throw him around, and as you can see behind him, his bamboo does drop sticks when they're cut, which I had originally forgotten about. So I was able to use his bamboo to get a little bit of extra structure damage on him. Blunt weapons tended to do better structure damage, and it helped me out a lot more because now that I was holding a weapon, I could block his slash damage from the machete. Something about it too gave me a lot more guts to try and parry. I don't know why I was doing that. It was a little bit reckless considering this is Master. However, I did have parry guard impact up, so it did help a lot for his structure damage. Now right in the end here, I got too cocky and did die again. I was a little bit upset about that considering his structure and health is incredibly low. However, age 24, I will take it. Master difficulty has been kicking my butt. And there you have it. That is second phase beat at only age 24. I figured that would work a lot better in the long run for all the future bosses that I face, because the higher that bar is set for each boss, the likely I am to fail in the long run. Thank you everybody so much for watching. This is my journey for Master Difficulty. In the next episode, you will see me fight the next level and boss, and I guess we're just gonna see how I do. I feel like I did really well this time around. Second go is all I needed. Sometimes you just need a break to read Sun Tzu, The Art of War, and it just gives you ideas. But anyways, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Vendo pôr do sol e até o nascer, mas o sol não brilha. Eu não durmo só penso em você. Me pergunto quando vamos